you might be already in Australia, some of you might be overseas. So we want to cover all the pathway that can take you to permanent residency, okay? So if you want to have a longer journey in Australia. But we also want to talk about the most important occupations that help you to reach permanent residency. So when I refer to PR, you can see here on the slide, I'm talking about permanent residency. We will also go through a list of qualifications and the student visa requirements. So in some cases, you need to apply for a student visa to come to Australia or to remain longer in Australia or reach your or achieve your goals. So we will talk about that as well. And we will also talk about the experience through additional visas, through visas that are more work visas. So where you can gain the experience that you need to eventually reach permanent residency. Okay, we will also touch some of the latest changes that we have seen in the past few days. So, but to start with, what we do, who I am. So my name is Tommaso Castelli, and I'm a registered migration agent. My office is based in Sydney, but we also have staff a little bit in Europe in different locations. I personally specialize in appeals for student visas. So it's a very hard topic because some of the visas are refused, and then it's when I come in and I try to change the decision about those visas. Okay, so make sure that if someone comes to Australia with a student visa and the visa is refused, can have the chance to continue study or continue his journey in Australia. Okay, but what we do as well, we do consultations, we do visa applications, we do skill assessments. Skill assessment, for who doesn't know what they are certificates that you can get to certify your qualification and your experience. So if you have already a profession from your country, then you can apply for a skill assessment to have your profession certified here in Australia. Okay, depending on professions, you have different skill authority. We create tailored pathway in Australia. So for any one of you, there are different pathways available. And this, I want to be very, very clear with this, because if your friend or if your sister or brother, if someone has done something, doesn't mean that what they did to reach permanent residency can work for you. And this is because there are so many changes in migration that happens all the time, and any of you is different from others. So what we do, we take your resume, we take your case, we assess your case in full, your story, and then we look into a pathway for you to come to Australia, or if you are already in Australia, to get eventually permanent residency, or whatever is your dream, okay, to whatever you want to do in Australia. The last thing that we do is also citizenship applications, and that's what after getting permanent residency you can reach, okay, and that is the last goal for most people. They want to become Australian as well, okay, and then you don't have to worry about anything anymore. But we do have also other services. I'm a justice of peace, so I can certify documents. We can help with translations. We do many, many things, okay. We are based in Sydney, but we also support anybody around Australia, around the world. That's why we collaborate with Nomadas, and we have a very good collaborations, and together we have achieved so far many, many good things, okay. So you are in good hands for many aspects, especially with the support I can give you when you start your journey in Australia, okay. Now, the 5 keys, okay, and this is very, very important to understand, and is always the first thing that we need to memorize when we want to reach eventually permanent residency, okay. So I call them 5 keys because these are the keys for you to eventually reach permanent residency. It doesn't matter which pathway you're taking, if you're going through a work visa, a partner visa, different visas. There are so many different visas here, but what you usually need is to have an occupation that is in demand in Australia, okay, and we were going to look into those soon. A qualification, the qualification must be related to the occupation, but also needs to be at the right level. So for every occupation, there is a different level of qualification. Very brief example, if you are an engineer, you need to have a bachelor qualification. If you are a chef, you need to have at least a certificate for qualification, okay, or a diploma in some cases. So depending on what is your occupation, you will need a different level of qualification. Okay, we will look into that deeply as well. Then, after the qualification, the experience. So also the experience is critically important, because the experience proves that you have work, that you are professional, that you have experience in your occupation. Okay, and we will see the ways for you to reach the experience required to eventually apply for a permanent visa, work visa. Last but not least, because age is something that we can also consider as one of the main keys. If you are over 45 of age, then you might have you might have some limitation. Okay, it might be a bit harder for you to get permanent residency. So it is very important to consider it. But the most important aspect or factor out of those is English. And why English? Because we are in Australia, and English can help you to get a better qualification, to enroll into a qualification, maybe to apply for a student visa. You also need to demonstrate that you have a bit of English. To find a job in your field, we mentioned before engineers. If you are an engineer with many years of experience but with no English, it will be very hard for you, almost impossible to find a job as an engineer. Okay, so everything starts from English. So the best suggestion would be focus hard on the English. If you are in Australia, make sure that you are always surrounded by someone that is an English speaker, or someone that doesn't speak Spanish, so can help you to talk in English and practice your English. Okay, but as soon as you have a high level of English, you are able to find a better job, complete your qualification, get all the requirements to eventually reach permanent residency. Okay, now occupation. We talk about the occupation. Nowadays, migration changes very often, and what we see is that Australia is selecting sectors. So every year, according to what is changing, we have different sectors. And what means that the department and the Department of Home Affairs focus people that they come to Australia and they work in these sectors. Okay, can be healthcare, usually IT, engineering, education as well, construction, trades. So anything that is related to trade as well is very important. And especially those days, cybersecurity. IT is growing anywhere. Everything is about IT. So we see as a cybersecurity as one of the main and future as well target that they will always gonna be there. Okay, health. We know after COVID, any nation in the world is focusing on getting people with a high experience in the health sector. Okay, and Australia too. Now we'll talk about a bit more deeply about the position that they can lead you to permanent residency. So position, work, occupations that they are related to these sectors. We can have registered nurse. At the moment, registered nurse is #1 occupation in demand in Australia. So if there is any nurse among you, you might have a very bright future in Australia. Okay, but there are other ones such as worker, aged and disabled carer, IT, again, software, ICT specialist, teachers. We have also some teachers that they can, teachers occupation that can lead you to permanent residency very safely. Okay, construction managers, we have motor mechanics, all trades occupation, and I mentioning here chefs in red because chef is also been a very good position to reach permanent residency. Nowadays, we are still waiting for some update by the department to have some confirmation whether this position is still in high demand or not. Okay, but this is what has been done until now. On the 7th of December, there has been some changes. The department announced a new occupation list specific for sponsored visas, and some of those positions are gone, but some of those but other position has been implemented, and those new positions are very different from what we have seen in the past years. And this is a proof that things change very fast in Australia. Okay, and it is important for you to start the right pathway. If you start a pathway that is not about you and is not about what you want to do, and is your dream job, for example, your career, then you might find yourself in a way where you are stuck because you started a course that is not what you want to do, only for migration purposes, and then migration changes and you're doing something that doesn't take you anywhere. Okay, but going back on the position that they are have been announced and now can have potential pathway to permanent residency, cybersecurity, very, very important. Again, we have childcare workers. So if you work in childcare now, you have a very good opportunity to reach permanent residency. Travel agency, travel consultant, tour guide, tourism occupations as well. Diver, we have retail manager, content creator, and other as a yoga instructor. Why? Because all those occupations, somehow they are relevant to the sectors that I mentioned before. Okay, for example, yoga instructor. Yoga is seen as a way to be healthy, which promote Australia health and help the department, the Australian government, to save a bit of money on health care. Okay, but this is very important because it just came a few days ago, and why is it important as well is because you need to choose the right course. Okay, now the second key is the qualification, and after we look into the occupations, what we need to do is to ask ourselves, do I have the right qualification? Okay, how do I know if I have the right qualification? So every occupation, they have a different level, as I mentioned before, of a qualification required. Okay, we have certificates, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, diploma, advanced diploma, bachelor's and master. Okay, so for some occupation, as those new occupation as a travel consultant, you only need a certificate 3 in travel and tourism. So if you've been working in your country in a travel agency, as a travel consultant or tour guide, then it's a very good opportunity for you, because if you don't have any qualification, you can come here and study those qualifications. If you're already here and that's what is your career, then you only need a certificate. But looking into other level, for example, if you want to become a carpenter, then you need to have a certificate 3 or 4 in carpentry. For other occupation as yoga as well, you need to have a certificate 4. For occupation that they are under the level 2 category, you will need a diploma and advanced diploma. We have occupation a bit more less trade, less technical, a bit more managerial. For example, community worker or architect or draft person, interior designer. So those occupations are occupations that they have a bit higher, then they need a higher qualification. Okay, the last is level 1 qualification, and are for occupation that they need a bachelor qualification. So if you are an engineer, or if you are a nurse, social worker, an accountant, you will need, or a teacher, you will need to have a bachelor qualification. So it is very, very important now that we understand as number 1 thing, what is going to be your occupation, your pathway. Once we have that in our mind, once we know what to do, then we can start thinking about the qualification that we have. Okay, and what is the next step is to look into a visa to come to Australia, because in order for you to get this qualification, if you don't have them already from overseas, we need to come to Australia to study. And to study, there are only few visas available for you that you can actually study. And the most common visa is student visa. And the student visa has a duration. The duration is according to the duration of the course that we are going to study. Okay, but the minimum is 3 months. So you cannot really come to Australia to study a certificate, a diploma, or even some English for less than 3 months. Okay, this is is not recommended. But for this, what we have those fantastic guys from Nomadas that they can look into the process with you. Okay, we will go to the process as well today. But just to let you know, there are also a couple of other visas that they allow you to study. But the maximum study that you can do with a visitor visa, with a working holiday visa, is up to 4 months. Okay, so if you want to come to Australia to learn English, to study something, then most likely you need to have a student visa. So that will be the main, the first step. Okay. Now, what are the student visa requirements? I will be not focusing and not reading or going through everything I put on the presentation. I can also the guys from Ramadan has also these presentations, so eventually if someone wants to have them, there is no problem to share them. Consider that these information are as of today. So tomorrow, if there will be some changes, then this will need to be double checked. Okay, but what we need to do, the main thing is to be enrolled into a CRICOS registered course. What does that mean? Means that you either come here to study English, to usually study a certificate, a diploma, or a bachelor qualification. Okay, those are the main courses. And CRICOS register means that the college where you're going has this, let's say, approval that can be used to apply for a student visa. I'll give you another example. If you study online, if you want to study a course online, then online courses are not registered as CRICOS, because you need to come to Australia to study physically, you need to go to class, okay? Then depending on courses, depending on colleges, you might have different attendance requirements, but generally you need to go to class face-to-face. Online classes are not available, okay? But the second thing very important to remember is that we need to be genuine. The student visa is a temporary visa for you to come to Australia or for you to extend your stay in Australia to study. That's the main purpose. So what we have to do, we have to demonstrate to the department that you are a genuine student, that you are here only to study, and explaining the reason why you are studying that particular course, that particular college, and also what are the benefits that that course can give you for your career or for your future. Okay. We also look into nowadays your immigration history. So if you've been in Australia already, make sure you meet all the conditions of your visa, because that's what they're going to check as well. They're going to see whether you are a genuine student, whether you have done the right thing so far. Okay, very, very important. Now, what are the physical requirements? So you need to have a substantive visa to apply for a student visa. Substantive visas are other visas, could be a student visa, could be a working holiday, could be a sponsor visa, could be a partner visa. There are different substantive visa, but if you are onshore, if you are overseas, of course, you don't need to have a visa to come to Australia. These guys can help you to find the right course and then to the process. Okay, you need to be over 4 years old, and we know. In some cases, you need to also have some level of English. If your English is not sufficient, so you want to come here to study English, then it's fine. You don't need to have a level of English to come to Australia to study English. Okay, but if you come here to study a certificate, a diploma, or a bachelor, in most cases you will need to demonstrate your level of English. Okay, and generally the minimum required is 6 in the IELTS test. Okay. In some cases, with the new regulations, we also need to provide sufficient funds. And what this means? This means that we need to prove that you are able to support yourself in Australia. Okay, so I won't go deeply into the costs that you need to provide, but it is important to remember that, yes, you need to provide financial capacity. You need to prove, in some ways, could be proving your bank account, your bank statement, could be through your parents, if your parents has as well a salary, annual salary that can reach the minimum required by the department. Okay, so there are different ways that we can prove that, but it is also very important to understand that it is a requirement. Okay, so we need to prove financially. One more requirement is the overseas student health cover. What it is simply a health cover that is mandatory. So if you come to Australia, or if you want to be in Australia with a student visa, you need to have this cover. You pay in advance, and this cover must cover the whole duration of your visa. So the duration of the visa, as I mentioned before, depends on the duration of the course, and you or your family has to be covered the whole duration of the visa by this health insurance and must be paid in advance. So depending on your course of your visa, if your visa is 3 years because you study a bachelor, then 3 years of health insurance must be provided when we apply for the visa. Okay. So those are general requirements. Then there is always the criminal and health criteria. So if you had some issues with the police, we need to know in advance because we might be able to sort out the situation. Otherwise, there will be some problems in the future. Okay, so make sure that when you have a chat with me, with Gonzalo, with Bello, or with anybody else from Nomadas or from us, make sure that you are very, very honest and you explain everything, because it is it can change the outcome of your visa. Okay, so if you know in advance, then we can also find a solution. Costs, they're changing all the time, they're increasing all the time, and now we have a new cost which is $1,600 for the main applicant. And then if you bring your partner, your de facto partner, or your wife, or your husband, and your kids, then you have to also also pay the fees for your dependents. Now, if you already have applied for a visa onshore, so this is your second visa from onshore, there is also a $700 extra as a subsequent entry fee. Okay, so don't forget about that. Student visa is becoming more expensive and is becoming also, let's say, not for everybody. Okay, they are trying to reduce the numbers of students coming to Australia. So we need to make sure that we have all the requirements, that we do the right things. And also what I want to say is, when we apply for a student visa, or when we apply for a course, we don't have the guarantee that the college will give you the seat. Okay, so this is to remember, because if you contact the guys from Nomadas, they can help you to find the right college for you. They can guide you through the process and increment and reduce actually the risks of not getting a spot in the class. Okay, and so listen to what are their recommendations. Okay, now last thing, conditions of the student visa: we need to study, so we need to maintain enrollment. You come with a student visa, you have to study. Okay, you need to again meet the academic progress. You need to notify changes of the address of your passport. If you go overseas to visit your family and you did not share the passport, then you won't be able to come back because the department has still your old passport. So it's very important that you provide this information. If you change school, or if you your relationship break down, so if you come here with your partner but somehow and your relationship breaks down, then we need to act, we need to do something, we need to inform the department. If we inform the department, then most likely your visa as a partner will be cancelled. So we need to have a plan B. We need to work out a plan B. So as soon as something happens, you always need to let us know, because we know what we have to do after. Okay. And I'm seeing that you are starting asking questions, so I'm happy just write them there, and then we'll look into that later on. I want to go pretty quick because I want to leave space for questions at the end as well. Okay, so possible pathway after student visa, what we can do. So you come to Australia, you study, you have the occupation, we find the right course, we start the course, we finish the course. So what is the next step? Okay, the next step is we can extend again the student visa. So we can also apply for another student visa from onshore. Okay? For example, to study a higher qualification, or if you're doing a package, or if your English is not enough, then you can extend your stay. Okay, we can apply for a 405 visa, which is the graduate visa. You might have heard about this visa, or the 407 visa, the training visa. Okay, and what are those visas here for? These visas are here for a very specific purpose, and the purpose is to give you experience. Okay, remember number 3, we have occupation, we have qualification, and the number three key is experience. And this experience allow you to meet the requirements to apply for a permanent visa later on, a work visa. Okay, so what are the steps? We find the occupation, we study. Once we study, we complete our qualification, then we focus on work. Okay, and why these visas are important? Because both visas allow you to work full time. And when you are on a student visa, this is something that we didn't mention before, but we have work limitation, and we can only work 48 hours every 2 weeks. Okay, so 24 hours every week. Your partners, in some cases, if you study masters or PhD, they can also work more hours. Okay, but generally this is the maximum amount of hours that you can work. When you have a 45 or 407, you can work as much as you can. There is no limit. Okay, so going next to the temporary graduate visa 405, the general criteria, you need to have studied in Australia to apply this. Okay, so going back to what we were before, you come with a student visa, you start studying, and most of those certificates, most of those courses that we mentioned before, that they are related to position that can take you to permanent residency, they have a duration of more or less 2 years. Okay, so we can organize packages for you to have a 2 years certificates and diplomas, for example, and these 2 years is one of the requirements to apply for the 405 visa. So you need to have studied in Australia, you need to have completed a 2 years course in Australia related to any one of these occupations. You need to have English, at least 6 in the IELTS, and this is it's funny because you study in Australia, and after 2 years you study in Australia, maybe you already apply for another visa to study English. Your English must be much higher than 6 because you study in English, you are here. So you need to focus also, as previously said, to increase your level of English. Why? Because for every visa we are going to apply later on, you need to have a higher level. Okay. And then if this visa allow you to work, you don't have English, you can't find a job as a manager. You can't find a job. So you need to have English. Okay. You also need to be under 35 years of age. So these visas here, the 405 visa at the moment is only available from the 1st July this year, 2024, only for who is 35 or younger. If you are 36, unfortunately not. But don't worry, because the other visa that I mentioned, the 407, the training visa, is what we're going to eventually apply for it. And the training visa, I'm not going in the specific today, but it allows you to work full time and gain exactly the same 2 years of experience that you need. Okay. Now, one more thing, very, let's say, important to remember is you can only hold a 405 visa once in your lifetime. If you come to study, you apply for a 405 visa, then you want to continue studying, it won't be possible, okay? And you cannot have more 405 visa, only once. So we need to use it very, very well. You study the right course, we apply for the 405 visa, because you can work and gain the experience that you need, okay? Now, what are these visas? So the 405 visa is divided in 2 streams. We have post-higher education stream, and is for people that study a higher education qualification. Guys, if you have a bachelor qualification, okay, in engineering, and you are already in Australia, if you apply for a certificate diploma, it is quite risky, okay, because you are lowering down your qualification. So in this case, it's recommended to apply for master qualification, because you are going higher with your education. This studying a bachelor, master, or a PhD in Australia gives you the opportunity to apply for this particular visa, the post-higher education stream. This is a visa that is gives you up to, I say here, 2 to 4 years, but depending on what are your the course that you're studying and also your nationality. Okay, it might be that you usually it's 2 years for a bachelor and 2 years for a master. Okay, but if you study a master in research, you have a longer duration. Now, it doesn't matter what you study. You can study anything. Master of Business Administration, Master of Business, Bachelor in Nursing, Bachelor of Business. It does not matter as long as you study 2 years higher education in Australia. Okay, so if you study already engineering, you don't need to study again engineering. Okay, you can study something that can complement what you don't have right now. You can get these amazing 2 years where you can work full time. Okay, if you study a certificate or a vocational course, then the stream will be the post-vocational work stream. And this is a little bit tricky because this is only for courses specific to some occupations. If you study a diploma in only a diploma in hospitality management, you won't be able to apply for this 405 visa because diploma in hospitality management is not related to an occupation in demand right now. Okay, but if you study a certificate in kitchen management and a diploma in hospitality management and you have the 2 years, then yes, you can apply for the 405 visa because your courses are related to the position cook, chef, or pastry cook as well. So, but usually chef is the position that we use to apply for this 405 visa. No cook, no pastry cook, or bakery. Okay, or baker. But in an easier way, if you study a bachelor, a master, or PhD, it does not matter which subject or which field you study. You can apply for this 405 visa. If you study a certificate or diploma, only if these courses are specific and related to occupations in demand. Okay. Once again, we are here to support in this. So if there is any question you have, these guys that can help you to find the right courses. Okay. Now, what is the possible pathway after the 405 visa and 407 visa? You can apply for a skill visa, you can apply for a sponsor visa. So this is wrong. This I should have put here skills in demand because from the 7th of December, it's not anymore called temporary skill shortage, but skills in demand. The visa subclass is still the same, okay? And skill independence visa. So all those visas are visas that can take you to permanent residency. And I won't go through these visas one at a time, but what you can see here is that what you have to do is to study, gain experience, and then apply for one of those visas. Okay. Now, I leave this page as the latest news because there are some changes that has been happening in the past weeks, and then I want to go through your questions. I think I try to be as quick as possible so we can get time also after the presentation for specific questions. Now, latest news. From December, as I just mentioned, the TSS is not anymore available, has been replaced by the Skills in Demand visa. The Skills in Demand visa has changed also the requirements of the sponsor visa. We need to have less experience to be sponsored, so from 2 years to 1. Casual experience is also valid, and there is a new occupation that we talked about in the beginning with new positions. Okay, so a lot of more new positions that can allow you to reach permanent residency. English, it's increased. So if you want to be sponsored, then you have for some occupation a higher score, which is 5 in the IELTS. Okay, whereas the 405 visa, just last night we received a new update about the 405 visa. The postgraduate visa, and the fees will be increased from the 1st February 2025. Okay. And also the fees for the student visa, we talked about it before, has been already increased to 1,600. Okay. If you guys have a talent, so if you think that you are a talent, if you are a researcher, if you are a soccer player, a singer, or even someone that achieved a lot of rewards in your profession, you might have options to come here under the National Innovation Visa. Okay, so there is also possibility to reach permanent residency, not coming here to study, but straight away because you have a talent. Okay, so if you think that you have a talent, if you want to look into this pathway, you can contact us and we will see whether you can be eligible. Okay, but it's a new visa has been replaced, and it is great. Now, thank you for your attention, and please let me know if you have questions, and we will. I will answer them. I will answer them all. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tommy, for all your information. It's always so clear. I will talk a little bit in Spanish and tell you the questions that we have. Así que muchas gracias a todos los que habéis estado escuchando. Tommy con su equipo siempre ayuda personalmente a cada uno según la trayectoria que tenga en Australia. Y bueno, cualquier cosa que necesitéis de él, podéis contactarle, igual a nosotros, para recomendación de cualquier curso de ayuda que necesitéis en Australia. Vamos a comenzar, si te parece, Gonza, con la pregunta de Diana. Tommy, we have a student that is waiting for her partner is waiting for the approval of the residency. So she's asking that once he has the residence, she's studying with a student visa. Can she stop studying, or she should follow her studies?
Okay, very good question. So this is something that we always recommend to do. Okay, firstly, until you don't have permanent residency as well, then you have another visa. And if you have a student visa, then you still need to maintain the conditions of your visa. And this is important because you don't have the assurance that the permanent visa will also be given to you. Okay, so until the visa is not granted, so until you don't get the permanent visa, in this case, I guess will be a partner visa because your partner is permanent resident, you don't have the assurance that visa will be granted. Can be many things can happen. I don't wish you bad luck, but we have seen that there could be a breakdown in relationship. Then you don't have anymore the grounds to have a partner visa granted. Something can happen along the way. So it is always important to wait and maintain the conditions of your visa. And this is also for you, for the people that they apply for other visa, for a work visa, for a sponsor visa. In some cases, you stop studying or stop studying, but you're still on a student visa. So until you don't get the grant of the new visa, then it is always recommended to maintain the conditions of your current visa. Okay. Just have to wait a bit longer. It doesn't usually take long to have a visa processed. Okay. And also see where you are on your study progress, because maybe you need to study for another couple of months, 3 months to get the qualification. Qualifications is always important. You study hard, you invest a lot of money into it, and if you can achieve this qualification before ending the course, before getting the new visa, why not continuing and get the full qualification? Okay, you might be using the qualification even when you are permanent resident. Okay.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Para todos los que estéis escuchando, sí que siempre se recomienda seguir, cuando estás en visa de estudiante, seguir tus estudios y, como dice Tommy, hasta que no tengas la residencia aprobada, esa visa aprobada, no dejar tus estudios y seguir con tu visa de estudiante. ¿Quieres seguir, Gonza, con la siguiente pregunta?
Sí, claro. Chicos, primero decirles también que cualquier duda o consulta que tengan la pueden hacer en español y Belu o yo nos vamos a encargar de traducirle a Tomaso para que también puedan tener sus respuestas, ¿ya? No tengan miedo si el nivel de inglés no está lo más óptimo posible, pueden escribir sus preguntas en español y después nosotros las vamos a traducir también para que puedan aclarar todas las dudas que tengan ahora durante el webinar. Ahora, Tommy, the question is, if I'm enrolled in a 104 weeks advanced diploma of civil construction design program, can I apply for the 485 visa? If eligible, what is the name of the occupation?
Okay, fantastic. So very, very good question, Catherine. Thank you. And thank you, Diana, for your previous questions. Now, if you study Diploma of Civil Construction Design, then yes, you should be able to apply for a 485 visa with the vocational stream. Now, you asked me two questions in this question, and one is if I'm eligible and which one is the occupation. So if you are eligible, you remember you need to have you need to be younger than 35. Okay, so if you are younger than 35, if you meet the English requirements, if you lodge the application within the 6 months from the completion, then yes, you will be able to apply. So the occupations, give me 1 second because I tell you in a moment. So usually is the civil construction draft person or civil construction it's called technician. Let me double check. Okay, give me a moment and I will come back to you with an answer. But yes, 100% you will be able to apply for these 485 visa. Okay.
Bueno, mientras tanto, lo que Tomás está explicando para Catherine y las personas que estén interesadas en este programa de estudios, hay dos posibles ocupaciones que se pueden ocupar dentro de este, en base a este
Gonzalo,
diploma.
Is civil engineering technician and civil engineering draft person, so not civil construction technician, but civil engineering.
Ok, entonces, si es que ustedes siguen el camino del Civil Engineering, pero no directamente por el Civil Construction, van a poder igual hacer este proceso de aplicación. Civil Construction Design también tendría un camino. Tommy, Civil Construction have a pathway anyway, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes. So what I want to say as well, Gonzalo, sorry, is this occupation as an advanced diploma of civil construction design, it gives you a diploma, advanced diploma level. So the position that we are looking into a lower position as a draft person or technician. If you are an engineer, then if you study engineering, civil construction engineering, and is a bachelor, then we can look into position as an engineer, okay? A specific engineer that requires a bachelor qualification, okay?
Bueno, entonces, en el caso de Civil Construction Design, la opción sería que pudieran aplicar a través de en este caso, es como un cargo, por así decirlo, que es de draft person. Ese sería el nombre específicamente con el que tendrían que aplicar para poder hacer un proceso de 485. Pero en el caso de que estudiaran Civil Engineering, podrían aplicar como ingeniero o engineer en este caso, para poder hacer el proceso. Pero para el Civil Engineering tendría que ser un bachelor, o sea, tendría que ser un poquito más alto para que pudieran hacer su aplicación también y pudieran aplicar a la 485. Otro requisito también que dijo Tommy, que es muy importante y que tienen que tener muy presente, es que la edad tiene que ser hasta los 35 años para poder hacer una aplicación a una visa 485. Belu, ¿pasamos con la siguiente?
Vamos con ella, sí. Thank you, Tommy. Next question is from Juan Segura. He's asking, how many years of experience are required now for a nominated occupation to replace the relevant studies for the 482 visa?
Okay, so I think what one is asking is, in some cases, if you don't have the right level of qualification, you can use your years of experience, and that depends on the occupation. So if you, for example, we talk about bachelor qualification, the years should be 5. If it's a diploma, the years are 3. Okay, but this depends on the occupation. Some occupation might require more or less. And this is usually written on the code with the job description that Australia provides. Okay, it's called ANSCO code right now. This is still valid until the end of the year. Then it will be called OSCA, which is a specific number only for Australian occupations. Okay, but yeah, generally you can have your experience used instead of the qualification. Okay, but we always recommend to provide a sort of qualifications in some cases.
Perfect, thank you, Tommy. Bueno, como ha explicado, depende de la ocupación. Algunos te pueden requerir 5 años, otros 3 años. Esto se revisa específicamente la ocupación en la que estés aplicando en la página oficial del Gobierno de Australia. Igualmente, si necesitáis información específica sobre vuestro caso, os recomendamos que tengáis una cita con Tommy, ya que es más fácil que os dé la asesoría personalizada con vuestro caso y con vuestro currículum y experiencia. Juan también pregunta, Juan's also asking, Tomaso, do I need to do a skill assessment and English test for a sponsor visa for H2?
So for the new skills in demand visa, the 482, yes, you need to have an English test completed. The level that you require right now is 5 for all occupations. So you need to have a 5 in the IELTS and the equivalent PTE or TOEFL or any other test. In terms of skill assessment, yes and no. Depends on the occupation. So if you are, it depends also where you come from, which country you come from, but generally for South Americans, from people coming from South America, they don't require a skill assessment unless they nominate specific occupation, such as a program administrator is an occupation that requires a skill assessment. Okay, but if you apply as a chef or as an engineer, no, you don't need to. Okay.
Perfect, thank you, Tommy. Juan, por si acaso necesitarías un 5 en IELTS o en el examen necesario puede ser un PTE, un TOEFL, según la equivalencia, y el Skill Assessment depende de la ocupación a la que estés aplicando. En general no, pero hay algunas que sí que lo pueden requerir. Así que te dejo, Gonzalo, la siguiente pregunta para ti.
Gracias, Belu. Tommy, the next question is from Diana too. She wants to know if you can explain her how can she make a migratory pathway with marketing. She already have a bachelor in marketing administration, but she has no experience, and she would like to know what pathway can she take and the requirement that she might have.
All right, thank you, Gonzalo. Hi, Diana. So when we look into marketing now, we can also have marketing specialist, for example, which is an occupation that is also on the sponsor visa. So that could be an option for you. So looking into finding a company that can sponsor you. Now, sponsor require you to have experience. So go back and remember the 5 keys. Okay, so we have an occupation that is in demand. So we tick this box. Qualification, you have the bachelor qualification and you already have the right level. So we tick this box too. Now, you don't have experience. So this is where we have to work. And now you're writing me in Spanish. So I'm not sure how is your level of English, but this is also important. So you need to start focusing on English and on your experience. And you can ask me, Tommaso, how can I get the experience and how can I get English? English, studying and practicing every day, watching English TV, news, listening to podcasts all day, every day. Try to do exams, try to study yourself, go to school, look into YouTube. There are so many ways to improve your English, okay? Experience, we talked about experience before. You can work when you are on a student visa, 24 hours a week. If you don't have English, it's hard for you to find a job as a marketer, as a sales and marketing manager or marketing specialist or anything that is related to marketing, because you need to have a high level of English, okay? So there are a lot of opportunities. If you are a marketer, you can reach permanent residency, but these are the things that you need to have, and you need to focus on the experience. How can we look into experience? you study and you work part-time. If you can apply for a 405 visa or the 407, the training visa, then you will gain experience. But what I suggest you to do is also to come back maybe to us. We do a proper consultation. We look at your resume. We see the years of experience that you have. We see your level of English next year, okay? Not before the end of the year. But next year, you can organize with Gonzalo and the guys from Nomadas to book a consultation. We go through everything. We go through all the requirements. We see when your visa expires. We see what we need to do. And we give you a very specific time frame that you know what are the steps that you have to take. Okay, then depending on how you act, if you always prepare yourself, study English and increase your opportunity to gain experience, fantastic, we go ahead with the plan. If you don't do the right things, then it takes longer and it becomes more complex for you to reach permanent residency. Okay.
Thank you, Tommy. Bueno, en este caso, Diana, para ti, lo que Tomaso estaba comentándonos hace unos minutos es que hay que seguir un poquito estas 5 claves que nos enseñaba desde el principio. Entonces, en base a tu ocupación, tu experiencia, la calificación también que tengas y tu nivel de inglés, van a ser factores súper importantes para que puedas hacer tu proceso. De todas maneras, para poder hacer una revisión bien exhaustiva de todos tus documentos, experiencia y todo lo que hayas pasado, tu nivel de inglés, Tommy te puede hacer una asesoría completa para poder entregarte toda la información que necesitas y claramente si necesitas algún cursito que te pueda ayudar para poder incrementar tus oportunidades, puedes escanear el código QR o escribir aquí que quieres una asesoría con nosotros para poder ayudarte lo antes posible. Belu, ¿estás por ahí?
Aquí estoy. Gracias, Gonza. Next question, Tommy, comes from Carla. She's asking if the graduate diploma or graduate certificates can give us the postgraduate visa.
Okay, this is a very specific and very interesting question, Carla, thank you. So if you're looking into those qualifications by itself, so if you study 2 years of graduate diploma, no. Okay, what you need to consider is when you apply, for example, for a master qualification that has a duration of 2 years, and you have studied a graduate diploma before, and the graduate diploma gives you credits that you can use to short down the duration of the master, yes, then they can be used. But if you only study a graduate diploma, graduate certificates, no, it is not possible only with those certificates. Okay, so it needs to be in conjunction with some other courses, master, for example. Okay.
Perfect, thank you, Tommy. Carla, en este caso los Graduate Diploma o Graduate Certificates, al tener una duración también más pequeña, no te servirían solo para la Postgraduate Visa. Sin embargo, si después de eso estudias un máster y utilizas ese Graduate Diploma como para convalidar parte de los créditos que ya has estudiado, ahí sí podrías aplicar, pero no solo con el Graduate Diploma o el Graduate Certificate. Gracias, Carla. Igualmente, si tienes cualquier duda, como ha dicho Gonzalo, puedes escribir asesoría para que podamos contactarte y resolver todas las dudas juntos.
Can I also add one little thing, Belu, sorry?
Yeah, sure.
What I want to add is sometimes qualification as a graduate diploma, a graduate certificate can give you the time to meet the other requirements. For example, if you already have the qualification, if you already have the experience, but your visa expires, and you need to find a company that want to sponsor you, or you need to pass an English test, then studying a graduate diploma because you already have a bachelor qualification, then it could be a very good way for you to extend your stay. Don't study a rubbish course, something that doesn't give you anything, okay? And it's not about because it's bad, the course, but because if you are an engineer and you study a yoga course, doesn't give you anything, any benefit, okay, in your profession. So you study a graduate diploma, graduate certificate that can somehow improve the value of your profile. You learn, you can have an additional qualification, and in the same time do what you need to do to apply for a better visa, okay, for a bigger visa, for a sponsor, a skill visa, or any other visa that can take you to permanent residency. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tommy. Carla, como comenta Tommy, lo que podemos hacer con estos cursos que también son de alto nivel académico es utilizarlos para sumar académicamente a un aporte a nuestro perfil y además buscar todo lo que necesitemos para aplicar esas visas que estamos requiriendo, ya sea sponsor, skill, para tomar el nivel de inglés necesario para aplicar a ellas. Es como ganar el tiempo que necesitamos en Australia. Así que, thank you so much, Tommy. Gracias. La siguiente pregunta viene de Alejandro. I will speak in Spanish because it's, I think it's for us. So, Alejandro, en tu caso, viene muy relacionado también con lo que estaba hablando Tommy de los graduate diplomas. Desde nómadas, siendo ingeniero civil y teniendo una carrera, un bachelor que sería aquí en Australia, vamos a apuntar siempre a estudiar lo más alto. Por tanto, graduate diplomas, máster, sería lo ideal para que tú estudies y tu visa sea aprobada. Obviamente depende del nivel de inglés, así que, como estamos diciendo, háblanos para conocerte mejor, estudiar tu caso y ver qué se te puede recomendar según toda la experiencia previa que ya tengas, ya sea académica como profesional, y encontrar el curso que se adapte a tus necesidades y puedas extender tu estadía aquí en Australia. Pero sí, enfocado sobre todo a un graduate o a un máster. Cuanto más alto el estudio, más probabilidad de que te aprueben esa visa y poder tener también el camino migratorio si es que lo estás buscando. So, Gonza, you wanna do the next also from Juan Segura?
Yes, sure. Tommy, next question is for estimator Ansco 312114. How many years of experience I need for a sponsor visa, and can I apply from Sydney?
All right, that's Juan, this is a very specific question. So I need to do some research. I need to check this occupation and see whether what is the qualification that you need to have, and also if you can apply for a sponsor visa. We can do this together as well. It won't take me long, okay? But remember that there are so many occupations in the list, and it's hard for me to remember every single one of it, but I can tell you in really short term if this occupation is available. So estimator. So let me see the code. Okay, so the position actually is not estimator, but is construction estimator. So what you need to do is to make sure that your experience is highly relevant to this occupation, which is specific to construction. So if you are doing working as an estimator for, I don't know, a pharmaceutical company, then your experience most likely will not be accepted. Okay, so you need to also look into that. Now, the qualification that you need, and I will look into this right now, is a level 2 qualification. So level 2 qualification means diploma, advanced diploma. That is the qualification that you need. And in terms of experience, then you need to have 1 year, like any other sponsor visa, so like any other skills in demand, 1 year full-time experience. Okay, full-time experience means at least 38 hours a week. If you were working part-time, then it would be equivalent to part-time, which means 2 years part-time is 1 year full-time. Okay, casual experience nowadays can also be counted, but with casual experience, you need to be careful because you need to make sure that you count and you calculate very well your weeks. If for some reason 1 week you were not working, you were not getting paid, you calculate that week, the department asks you information, you don't meet the 1 year full-time experience, your visa can be refused. Okay, so it is very important to assess your experience properly. But have a look at the position, because it's construction estimator, not specifically estimator in general. Okay, and there is this position is under skill assessment beta assess. So if you go under this beta assess skill assessment fact sheet, you can find all the information that you need about what are the positions, what are the tasks that you need to do. Okay, that's very, very important. Okay, to make sure you're doing the right thing and that your experience can be certified.
Thank you, Tommy. Bueno, Juan, entonces, para tu caso, como explicaba Tomás en este caso, tienes que tener 1 año de experiencia, tiene que ser de full time la experiencia, o sea, esto implicaría mínimo 38 horas a la semana, si es que estamos haciéndolo a través de visa de estudiante, nos va a dar solo 24 horas por ley. Por lo tanto, eso implicaría que en lugar de ser una experiencia, tendrían que ser 2 para hacer el tiempo equivalente total para poder hacer el proceso de aplicación. Otra cosa súper importante que acaba de mencionar Tommy también es que el cargo, el perfil no es estimator por sí solo, sino que tiene que ser un construction estimator, que es un cargo un poquito más amplio, y también la calificación que tienes que tener para esto tiene que ser por lo menos un diploma, un advanced diploma, como para poder calificar también dentro de beta-test también para que después te puedan hacer todo tu proceso directamente y la validación de los estudios y también puedas seguir con tus procesos de visado.
Can I add one more thing, Gonzalo? Just before Juan asked me a question about the skill assessment. So the skill assessment for this position is not required for a sponsor. Okay, so that's also what you need to know. Occupation as a valuer, land economist, and quantity surveyor are not considered. So if you were a quantity surveyor, which usually is the most common occupation, then you cannot have a pathway under this profession. Okay. Needs to be quantity surveyor.
Super. Entonces, ahí también nos hace un poquito más información, Tommy. Para poder aplicar al sponsor no hay que hacer un skill assessment necesariamente, así que ese paso también se lo podrían no saltar, pero sería un poquito más sencillo también al proceso, al momento que deciden hacer sus aplicaciones, ¿ya? Tommy, can you repeat the name of the occupation that you told us previously?
Yes, valuer. So valuer, land economist, and quantity surveyor.
Entonces, eso, son esas 3 ocupaciones las cuales te llevarían también a que pudieras hacer tu proceso también con esta cualificación. No sé si vamos con preguntas.
So, Gonzalo, those occupations are not considered under the estimator. Okay, so if you're doing if you are a quality surveyor, you cannot use construction estimator as an occupation. Okay, just to clarify that is not
okay, Tommy, yes. Entonces, perdón, entonces me equivoqué. En este caso, esas 3 ocupaciones que acaba de mencionar Tommy no estarían calificando dentro de esta misma que estás preguntando, así que tendría que ser como el constructor estimator, o porque estimator por sí solito no es una ocupación que estaría dentro de la lista para que pudieras hacer un proceso de sponsor. Creo que vamos a dejar por aquí con las preguntas. I think that we're gonna close this for today, Tommy. Thank you so much for all your guidance and your help always. And I don't know if you would like to give a few words after.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gonzalo. Thank you, Bello. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure being here today, and thank you for hosting the event. And yes, you guys are amazing, and I wish all of you a fantastic Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and then we catch up next year. 2025 is a great year. There will be a lot of changes, but hopefully positive changes. Just to wrap up thing, remember always these key 5 factors, what you need to do: study, get the qualification, work, and then you can improve your English, and then you can eventually reach permanent residency. Okay, so do the right things. But if you need any assistance, then you can always ask these guys to share the details or book a consultation through our website. Okay.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
Belo, estabas muteada, disculpa.
Perdón. Estaba diciendo thank you so much, Tommy, y muchas gracias a todos los que nos estáis viendo y nos veréis más tarde. Podéis escanear el código QR si tenéis cualquier pregunta más. Ya sabemos que las preguntas son infinitas, así que feliz de ayudaros en todo lo que necesitéis y guiaros un poquito para conseguir la residencia, el camino aquí en Australia, que al final todos estamos en la misma. Entonces, bueno, también desde Nómadas queremos apoyaros con eso y encontrar la manera personal de cada uno de vosotros para poder ayudaros aquí. Y como ha dicho Tommy, enfocarnos en lo que tenemos, que es lo más importante también, el inglés, no dejarlo de lado y ver cuál es nuestro objetivo para conseguirlo cuanto antes. Así que feliz de ayudaros y feliz Navidad a todos. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Grazie mille.
De nada.
Eso sería. Muchísimas gracias a todos, muchísimas gracias por participar, por conectarse, y thank you so much, Tommy, for all your guidance and help, as always. Chicos, los que estén interesados en poder obtener una asesoría, poder atender con su proceso, quedarse acá en Australia mediante una visa de estudios, pueden escanear el código QR, como decía Belu, o cualquier cosita también nos dejan mensajitos acá a través de los comentarios para que nosotros los podamos contactar lo antes posible.
Gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias a todos.